yes.
Get ready.
Thought we were in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the third episode, number 3, the third episode of Unhinged. I am yours truly, Kiriakos Vilchez. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Solo, a Star Wars story, and why we need to give the movie a chance. If you've watched my last episode, I am sending this directive out to you, my fellow Star Wars fans, the fan base itself. I am going toe-to-toe with you about why you don't need to give this movie all the unwarranted hate that it has been garnering, okay? You haven't seen it yet. You don't know how good or bad it's going to be, so how about we just give the movie a chance? So, without further ado, we are going right into Solo, a Star Wars story. Thank you for joining me on this third amazing episode of Unhinged. Before I begin, I just want to give a quick shout out to a friend of mine, a recent subscriber, and he's been following this new series. He's kind of spreading the word amongst my peers and colleagues, if you like to call him that. I'm not going to give out his name because he requested that I do not, but you know who you are, so thank you. We'll just call you Mr. M. Mr. M, okay? I'm not going to reveal your identity, but good guy. He's listening. He's very invested in my podcast here. So thank you very much. Another buddy of mine. Hopefully he'll start listening to it. I won't give out his name either. We'll just call him Hefty, okay? Hefty's he's globe-trotting right now, okay? He'll be back. He'll be back. And hopefully he'll also be a recent subscriber, and he'll start listening to my rantings and ravings on here. Anyway, but yeah, I just had to get that out of the way. Little inside humor for those two individuals listening. But yeah. Anyway, Solo, Star Wars story. Now, if you've been following the news around this very ambitious standalone feature, kind of following in the footsteps of Rogue One, it is now, I believe, directed by Ron Howard. They just kicked the other guy out. I don't really know much about the story aside that it centers around a young Han Solo and his adventures with, Chewbacca, which also includes their encounter with Lando Calrissian. Beyond that, it's an origin story. It shows him in his youth kind of getting into the smuggling game, possibly doing the Parsec run. I've heard rumors that maybe Jabba the Hutt may be featured in it, possibly a Boba Fett cameo, maybe even a Darth Vader cameo. I heard that. Several entertainment outlets online have kind of dissected not dissected, they've kind of run through the rumor mill with several different, theories of, who might be in the movie, what might happen in the movie. But beyond the very simplistic synopsis that we have right now, which is available, I don't really know much about Solo, aside that it centers around a young Han Solo and his adventures with Chewbacca, and going from there, the movie could take a variety of direction. I do know from a few sources that the movie will derive a lot of source material. It will delve into source material in what some people have hoped that, Disney kind of would have taken a look at further, making movies in the future, is the expanded universe. You see kind of tidbits of that in the trailer so far. If you've taken a look at the Solo, the teaser or the full trailer, some of the stuff that Han Solo's doing is an indicator that they are taking inspiration from some of the expanded canon, but who's to say, that may just be, an aesthetic ruse to the whole thing. But anyway, so just kind of going over the cast from what I know so far. Han Solo, played by the controversial casting of Han Solo, before I go into that. That role will be played by Alden Ehrenreich. I personally don't really know much about the actor. I haven't watched much of his stuff. So this is the first film. This will be the first big feature film I'll see him star in. You have Woody Harrelson, good old Woody, playing as Toby, a character named Tobias Beckett, and I think he plays a type of mentor role to Solo in this movie. You have Emilia Clarke, and if you know Emilia Clarke, she's very big with the Game of Thrones fans, okay? She's from Game of Thrones. Emilia Clarke, she'll be playing Kira. Don't know much about the character either. And of course, I think one of my favorite castings in this movie is Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian. And of course, Lando Calrissian was the administrator of Cloud City in The Empire Strikes Back, but he was played by the amazing Billy D. Williams. Hey there, I'm Billy D, and I'm doing a terrible impersonation of him. He's probably shaking his head if you ever heard this. But yeah, Donald Glover, he had a little bit of a bit part in Spider-Man Homecoming. He's also known as the Childish Gambino, although I do hear that he's going to relinquish that moniker soon for some reason. But yeah, Donald Glover is going to be Lando Calrissian in this. And that's pretty much the cast. Okay, that's the cast right there. Now, a big focus of this episode will be the casting of Han Solo, because the fan base is up in arms. You guys have gone, Lexington and Concord on this poor guy. I mean, Alden Ehrenreich you haven't seen him in this movie aside from the bits and pieces of his portrayal of Han in the teaser and the full trailer. I mean, and everyone's so angry. They're saying he looks nothing like a young Harrison Ford. He doesn't have his swagger. He doesn't have his mannerisms. He's not going to be able to fill those shoes. Okay, now I'm going to give you my opinion. And it's probably going to be unpopular with a lot of the people who have been shaking their heads at the casting of Alden Ehrenreich and saying he doesn't look like a Han Solo or have any kind of resemblance to a young Harrison Ford. Well, here's the thing, guys. First of all, for me, Harrison Ford will always be Han, okay? He's Han Solo, and absolutely nobody will be able to fill his shoes. I don't care who you are. It's like the next guy that takes up the mantle of Indiana Jones, they're not going to live up to Harrison Ford, okay? Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford, okay? The characters that he plays on screen, he incorporates his personality into his roles, and it's very hard to follow in his footsteps and do the actor himself justice. Expanding on roles that he's played, building on the foundations of his legacy. I mean, when you're following Harrison Ford in a role, you're going to be a little guy standing in an immense shadow, okay? I don't care who you are. You have to be a pretty phenomenal actor across the board, and look like the guy to appease Star Wars fans, okay? And I'm sorry you guys have been bitchy little children about it so far. I'm so sick and tired of hearing it. I mean, that's one of the first things if I mention the movie to anybody and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to generalize and bunch everybody together, but the truth of the matter is you guys just it's as if, the British are coming to take your guns, and, you're like the Paul Revere of screaming to the heavens that Alden Ehrenreich is the worst casting choice in the universe for Han Solo. But, no offense, but anybody who, okay, realistically, you can't make a standalone feature film about Han Solo in his younger years starring Harrison Ford. What are you going to do? CGI his face like they butchered Henry Cavill's face in Justice League with his mustache and just CGI the hell out of his face and make him look 35 years younger, 40 years younger. I mean, how the hell are you going to do that? It's not going to work. So, of course, you have to cast a younger actor. And whoever you cast, I mean, you could cast somebody that looks so much like a young Harrison Ford, but guess what? He's not going to be, maybe he might not act like him. But then you're going to cast somebody like Alden Ehrenreich, and maybe throughout the movie you start warming up to him, but just because he doesn't look like a young Harrison Ford, you're pissed off. And that's stupid. I'm sorry, that's stupid. And you may get mad at me and frustrated with my opinion, but hey, that's my opinion. I'm as big of a Star Wars fan as you, okay? So hey, and I love Harrison Ford, and I love the character of Han Solo, but if you're really going to base your opinion on a movie off of one casting choice, okay, let me just run down the list of movies that people have been pissed off about casting choices where the actor turned out to be amazing and completely turned those opinions on their head. Michael Keaton in the first Batman. People thought Mr. Mom was going to be terrible. He couldn't be dark and brooding and be the Dark Knight that Tim Burton wanted him to be. Well, guess what? Michael Keaton proved everybody wrong. Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. Everyone thought he couldn't pull off this cinematic portrayal of the Joker. Guess what? Ledger is the best cinematic live-action portrayal of the Joker to date. And I feel bad for anybody following in Heath Ledger's footsteps, okay? The Dark Knight's Joker is amazing. Okay, let's take a look at another one off the top of my head. Let's think. For a short time, people thought that... No, I'm sorry. Let's go look at Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's Batman. Okay? Give or take, there are some moments in both Batman versus Superman and Justice League where, because of writing or the plot, his character falls short. But Ben Affleck, he's not bad as Batman, okay? And I remember this one guy on YouTube, and I'm not going to name his name because I don't do that. I don't throw people under the bus. But he's a big commentator, and he was flipping out. He's like, oh my God, he was Daredevil, and he was so bad, and he's going to be so bad as Batman. He's a piece of crap, and Ben Affleck doesn't know how to act for anything, and I'm not going to watch this movie because he's not Batman, and, Batman for me will ever be Michael Keaton, and blah, 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 and even Adam West. Freaking Adam West has football fields of experience of being the Cape Crusader over Ben Affleck. And I'm like, seriously? I'm like... But have you seen Ben Affleck in other movies? I mean, Daredevil, yes, it was a bad movie. It was, it was an underwhelming superhero movie, okay? But Ben Affleck in The Town and another movie, it's like Ben Affleck has been in other movies that have been very good, okay? He has some serious acting chops, okay? Just because he was in a bad superhero role doesn't mean that every superhero role after that he will be terrible in, okay? So, with that being said, with Han Solo's casting, take it down a few notches, my fellow Star Wars fans, okay? OT, OGs, and prequel obsessed fanboys, okay? Anybody who's feathers I'm ruffling because I'm really throwing out this strong opinion about Alden Ehrenreich. You know why? Because I'm giving the man the benefit of the doubt that he can give us a solid portrayal of Han Solo, okay? So let's relax a bit, take a breath. Okay, let's do what those serious about yoga, those yoga obsessed moms, and let's do those breathing exercises. Okay, let's 1 and 2. Okay, let's relax a bit. Okay, so that's my 2 cents about Alden Ehrenreich and his casting as Han Solo in this movie. Now, a few reasons why. Okay, this is the cream of the. This is the cream of the corn. What the hell, cream of the corn? This is the the gravy of my video here, okay? I'm going to lay it on thick. The reasons why we need to give Solo, a Star Wars story, a chance, okay? First reason, and while I'm editing this, just as a fun little thing, every time I give out a reason, I'm going to probably put out a funky sound. Funky. Funkadelic. No, not a funky sound. Maybe a ring bell, ding ding, you know? One reason, ding. Another reason, ding. Or maybe something hilarious like that dolphin sound from SpongeBob. Anyway. First reason. Rogue One. Oh, after I make the point, it'll make the sound. God, I already think about that noise. Okay. Rogue One. You know what I heard when Rogue One came out? And people were like... First it was about the Bothans. People were obsessed with the Bothans. It was like... Oh, are they going to actually show the sacrifice of the Bothans and how many died to get the Death Star schematics to the Rebel Alliance and so on and so forth? And then I heard criticism about, oh, but there's a lead female character, Jyn Erso. Oh my God. Blah, 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 blah. She can't hold her own. I mean, we don't know. I mean, why? Is this character that exciting enough? And then I heard some bull crap about Ben Mendelsohn as director Krennic and how he wasn't menacing enough. And, you know, what was the point of him being in the movie when all we want to see is Darth Vader? And the music. Oh, well, it's not being composed by John Williams. It's being composed by Michael Giacchino. Or Giacchino, whatever. I'm sorry for... if either it's Michael Giacchino or Giacchino or Giacchino. Sorry. If I'm pronouncing that completely wrong, I apologize. Anyway, they were complaining about the music, that it didn't have a Star Wars feel to it. Well, guess what? And it doesn't take a brainiac to figure out that all those concerns were not warranted at all. At all, okay? Rogue One is one of the best Star Wars films to date. It's up there. It's up there on the tier list, okay? Near The Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. It's a great Star Wars story. It follows these renegades trying to get the Death Star plans away from the Empire, and the story's gripping. It's emotionally ridden. You're really investing in the characters. I mean, everybody, Jyn, even the droids, K2SO, Director Krennic is a fantastic villain. We even have a special, I guess you call it like a CGI / live action portrayal of Grand Moff Tarkin with Peter Cushing's likeness. We even have Darth Vader make a few appearances in one of the most badass scenes at the end where he's cutting down rebel soldiers like it's going out of style and showing us the true power of the dark side. And the music was and the music had an emotional pull to it. I mean, you know, going back to going back to, you know, some of the things that we just associate with, you know, either certain franchises or genre or movies or anything. I know you can't replace the awesomeness of, let's say, you know, let's say Kevin Conroy as the voice of the animated Batman. I mean, yes, of course, he's probably the best, and no one will ever do it as well as him, or Mark Hamill as the Joker. But there's some people who do their own interpretation, their own spin, and they own it in their own way, that it's just as enjoyable or really, really good. And the composer for Rogue One, guess what? The music, like Krennic's theme and some of the death scene music and the scenes where they're fighting on Scarif, where, you know, the music for those scenes, I was like, wow, it's like he did a great job, and people were worried about that. And there you go. One reason. The first Star Wars story, the first anthology film, did extremely well. And one of the lamest reasons I heard for why people didn't want to give that movie a chance was that they weren't going to see enough Jedi. Really? Really, like a war-based Star Wars story where they're doing espionage and they're launching reconnaissance and things like that. You're upset because there aren't enough Jedi in the movie. Really, I mean, are you not? Anyway, reason number two. Prequel fever. Okay? Anybody remember when George Lucas was at the helm of something called the Star Wars prequels, episode 1 through 3, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith? Okay? Everyone was excited as hell when Phantom Menace was released, and then they weren't, and they started hating George Lucas for giving them a CGI fest, that puts even Justice League to shame and some of the DCEU movies to shame. Or even the disaster movies to shame. It's like everything was green screen and I don't like sand and lines like that. I mean, that was the anti-Lucas prequel fever, okay? Everything from Jar Jar Binks to Hayden Christensen's casting as Anakin Skywalker to the dialogue. I mean, I've watched those prequels over and over. My favorite being Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, mainly because it features a lot of Emperor, Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, played by Ian McDiarmid. And I liked those films, and I was younger when I watched those. They came out when I was younger. Late elementary school, middle school. I remember I was like in 8th grade, I think, when Revenge of the Sith came out. But for me, it was okay. Getting older, I found a lot of the flaws with the movie. Some of the flaws that adults, point out as reasons why George Lucas dropped the ball. Even if he is the father of Star Wars, without George Lucas, we wouldn't have Star Wars. I mean, simple as that. But he took a lot of liberties with something that fans loved and adored, and he kind of reconfigured in a way where it fit his vision, and sometimes it didn't work, sometimes it did, but for the most part, the prequels are just, a galaxy far, far away from the original trilogy in terms of cinematic perfection. They're just not up to par on so many different levels. But for me, I enjoyed them. Getting older, I saw a lot of the problems with them, but I still like them. Of course, my woes about what he did with some of the movies there. Fast forward to our time, okay? We have The Force Awakens, we have Rogue One, The Last Jedi, and it's no surprise to me where the fan base itself, some of those same people who berated Lucas for his vision with the prequels and what he did there, are now saying that it would have been better if George Lucas now did the new Star Wars movies. Like, after The Force Awakens was like that honeymoon period where everyone got reintroduced to Star Wars, to the Star Wars that we know and love and remember. But The Last Jedi comes around the end of last year, and oh my god, the vitriol and the toxicity and the anger and the hate around the film, and it started bringing up these feelings from people that were like, oh, well, maybe if George Lucas had helmed this movie and he directed it or helped write it or really, really helped consult them on it, it would have been loads better, and he would have done the characters justice, and it would have been such an amazing movie, and it wouldn't be a piece of crap that it is now, and Star Wars is not Star Wars anymore, and Lucas should have never sold it to Disney. Really? Are you serious? Considering you were probably one of those people that labeled poor old George Lucas the man who destroyed his own creation, the reverse Dr. Frankenstein. He made it to kill it. What the heck? And the anti-Disney fever is I mean, the parallels are strikingly sad to the anti-Lucas prequel fever back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, it's the parallels are they're so, I mean, profound. It's like, oh my god, to everything from the character assassination to, you know, going after actors themselves, to going after writers, to going after producers, to, you know, they're labeling Disney like the final nail in the coffin for the Star Wars franchise itself. You know, I'm like, seriously? It's like, but then the hypocrisy is so prevalent. It's like bubbling to the top, where it's like, but you were the same people that used to criticize and chastise what the prequels were doing, but now you wish for Disney to take a prequel like approach to Star Wars and do what George Lucas did with, you know, I'm like, what? And that, so there you go right there. Another reason. The prequel fever is now the anti-Disney fever. Anything Disney owns or is trying to put out under their banner, no matter, you know, what part they play in it, they're criticized for it. The third reason, and the most important reason of all, the fan base itself. And please, if you love Star Wars and you can just have an educated, articulated opinion about why you don't like something, but you don't go after other people, you know, good for you, because you're somebody I can talk to. Because I can talk about Star Wars with my friends or people that know about Star Wars, and we can have a genuine discussion without trying to kill each other. Because at the end of the day, we're always going to be fans and we love Star Wars. But the fan base itself has grown exponentially, and the problem with that is that the toxicity within the fan base has also grown. And it makes me sick. It's like you have grown people, grown adults, okay? They are calling Star Wars kids crap, and they're saying it's too humorous and it's too Marvel-like. And that's another thing entirely. It's they're pissed off like somebody killed their best friend. Okay? This is how bad it's gotten. And the thing about the Star Wars fan base is, ever since the original trilogy had completed with Return of the Jedi, nothing... I mean, even then, Return of the Jedi was like the less appreciated of the three. The Return of the Jedi happens to be my favorite of the three. Mainly because I actually saw that one before I saw A New Hope or The Empire Strikes Back. Weirdly enough. But I mean, I love the original trilogy. For me will always be the best. But the fan base, it will never be happy with anything Star Wars that isn't the original trilogy in terms of being up to par with what was done there. With George Lucas's, you know, New Hope, you know, him jump-starting Star Wars with Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, the amazing follow-up to that, and then Return of the Jedi, the satisfactory conclusion. They're never going to be as happy because you don't have the magic, you don't have the lightning that was struck. You know, like they always say that sometimes you can try to catch lightning in a bottle with the franchise, but sometimes with franchises like Star Wars or like the Terminator, you know, I mean, the first few movies, it's like sometimes you can't, it doesn't work. You just can't do it. And it'd be unrealistic to expect as much. And the fan base itself it's like they're setting themselves up for disappointment. Curiously enough, you know, I follow a lot of Star Wars based channels on YouTube, you know, folks who are comparing and contrasting theories and ideas of what may be happening in the next Star Wars movie, who they feel might appear, what they feel might be done. And a lot of them are theories on where a character might be developed or where a particular plot line may go into. But I think to my very core, I think Star Wars fans, they kind of take these theories to heart religiously, like almost like it's the gospel, like because so many of them agree on it and they think that it's probably going to happen, that if it doesn't happen, their world is going to be destroyed. It's like they're going to cry and they're going to lose everything. And there was one for me that I thought it would have been nice if The Last Jedi explored, and that was Rey's lineage and who her family really was. And one was that it was a Palpatine family theory that Rey was actually the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine, and she was hidden away by her parents because he actually had like a son or daughter, and they had Rey, but then they died. But then I guess Palpatine loyalists, people who are dedicated to keeping his legacy, they felt it was better to hide his hide this hidden granddaughter. And it turns out that the Star Wars has always been a Skywalker story, but a Skywalker versus Palpatine story, and it would have been interesting if she was a Palpatine. Anyway, I went to The Last Jedi not expecting to see that. You can't go into a Star Wars movie expecting to see anything, really. I mean, The Empire Strikes Back threw one of the biggest curveballs at fans of Star Wars ever. Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father. Nobody saw that coming. Freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi was talking about how Luke's father died at the hand of by Darth Vader's hand. We didn't expect Darth Vader to be the dad. So just, it begs the question, why are, I'm just going to because I don't want, I'm upset with the fan base, but it's like I really want them to kind of see the light on this. It's like, why are you setting yourself up for disappointment? Why? I don't get it. Nothing will ever change the fact that you loved, the original trilogy or any of the Star Wars films, whichever one you like or whatever. But why would you set the bar so high? I just don't understand, especially if you know that bar's never going to be met. And with Solo, a Star Wars story, where we're getting a rare chance to see a young Han Solo in his adventures, okay? He could be running smuggling deals, he could be battling the Empire in some way, he could be dealing with Jabba the Hutt, some of his first interactions with Jabba the Hutt, and maybe even Boba Fett or Darth Vader might come into the mix some way, somehow. Why wouldn't you be excited about that just in general? I mean, you're going to let things like casting choices and the appearance of a Guardians of the Galaxy-ish vibe to the movie dissuade you from going to the theater and watching it? I've seen some videos where people are like, I'm done with Star Wars. Star Wars is dead to me. I don't want to watch Star Wars anymore. Disney has completely bastardized the way Star Wars is for me as a fan. I'm like, really? I mean, are you cuckoo, sunshine? Are you cuckoo? Mr. M probably got that if you're listening. Are you cuckoo, sunshine? And then there's one for you too, Hefty. How you say to me? How you say to me? Anyway, getting back on track. But why wouldn't you be excited about that? Just why? I mean, I would love to see what they bring to the table here, maybe Alden Ehrenreich will be terrible. Maybe he'll do a terrible job. Maybe he'll let everybody down. But until we give the movie a chance, we actually go and see it, how do you know? How do you know? When Solo Star Wars story is released and the reviews come in, critics and fans alike, we'll take a look at it again and we'll see exactly what was done right, what was done right, what wasn't, what we liked, what we didn't like. But if you think that me or anybody who just loves Star Wars is just going to write off a movie just because we think it's going to be bad and we're not going to give it a chance, that's moronic. It's stupid. It's really it's like saying you wouldn't read a book because you don't think it's going to be a good book, even though it's something you're probably keen on reading because it has a lot of the themes or characters or something that you like about what the book is. But you're like, I don't want to give it a chance because I heard that they don't go to one place in one chapter, and I don't like that. Really? You're going to write a piece of art off anything, a movie, a TV show. I mean, just because you don't like a liberty that they took or a change that they made. That's fanaticism, guys. Fanaticism. That's fan base zealotry. And I see it, and I was let down recently by a channel I still follow, and he's a great guy. I'm not going to go into, again, I'm not going to name drop anybody. But he's fantastic. He knows his Star Wars lore. He plays the games. He's still pretty big on Star Wars. But after seeing The Last Jedi, he had a change of tone. And I don't know. It just seems like he turned himself off of being a fan. It's saying that, Disney Star Wars isn't his Star Wars. And it's just sad. It's sad. It's sad, and I wish it didn't happen, but it does, That's like for me to say as a DC fan that I'm going to hate Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman or Flash or anybody because of Justice League. Just saying I'm done. Oh my God. Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon and Warner Brothers, you screwed up. Oh my God. Superman is dead to me. Putting a flower on his kryptonite grave. Come on. Really? Like, isn't that a little extreme? You know what I mean? It's like you're taking it into the political sphere. So you sound like those people who are either for or against a candidate or a politician or, whatever, someone in office, and they live and breathe either to love or hate that person. It's like use common sense, find the common ground. I mean, Jesus Christ, you're not a Knights Templar soldier. You're not fighting in the Crusades. It's like, this isn't a life or death thing. It's a movie. Or it's a candidate or something. It's like, stop. At the end of the day, everybody's either going to please you or disappoint you at varying degrees. It's like no one's going to please you 100% of the time or disappoint you 100% of the time. If it's on either of those extremes, then maybe you're in a good place to love or hate something. But with Solo, a Star Wars story for this humongous fan base with so many different kinds of people from so many different walks of life, with varying ages from, little toddlers to people in their 50s and 60s and above. It's like, why? It's like the vitriol's not needed, the toxicity's not needed, and it's going to be a real sad day when I can't talk to another Star Wars fan because they're going to go off the handle because I mentioned that, well, actually, I liked The Last Jedi, and I thought it was one of the most ambitious Star Wars films. And I liked the approach that they took. They kind of made it Star Wars, but then it wasn't Star Wars, And they go off on me, and they want to beat me up or scream at me. Oh, you don't understand. You don't know Star Wars. You don't. They sound like they're, God, like they just took a visit to the proctologist and he didn't end well for him. Man. And at the end of the day, this movie is going to explore the character's development, the unknown development into the Han that we know and love. It may not be Harrison Ford, okay? And Alden Ehrenreich will never be Harrison Ford. He's Alden Ehrenreich. But to say that he's going to be a terrible waste of time is saying that you're honestly a terrible waste of mind. Because you don't do that. You don't write people off without giving them a chance. Without any evidence to suggest otherwise. Anyway, guys, I'm going to cut it short here. I feel like targeting Alderaan with my anger. No, I'm just kidding. Or am I? You may fire when ready. That was my best Peter Cushing impersonation. God, I'm just on a terrible roll with those right now. Anyway, guys, I much appreciated I thank you for tuning in to Unhinged, joining me on this episode where we took a look at Solo, a Star Wars story. I told you it was going to be a bare knuckle fan brawl here, and I was going to let a lot of things out that I did not like about what I was hearing and reading or seeing about the opinionated cluster burst of anger coming out against this movie. Make sure to like, comment, and or subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any episodes of Unhinged. Next episode is a surprise. You're just going to have to check it out. Right now I'm kind of going through my episode scheduling list and figuring out what the best content is to put out this time. It may be something about Marvel. It may be something about the new sci-fi series Krypton. It may be a political commentary video. It may be my Battle the Little Bighorn episode. You don't really know now. Now the anxiety will start to fester within you. The heart palpitating. Bum 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 bum. All right, now I'm starting to lose track of thought here. Anywho, thank you kindly for joining me here on Unhinged with yours truly. I am Kiriakos Vilchez. Make sure to come on back. The 4th episode will be releasing next week. Before I go, I just want to leave you guys with a interesting story. I've told a few people this. And it's not the most interesting, but it's kind of bizarre. And I've kind of I was on Twitter and I kind of took the time to tweet about that. You know when people actually take the time to tweet about something is when you know that they're at least a little more upset than usual. Well, I was at Starbucks, and I don't really go there to get coffee. I don't really drink coffee. Usually I get pastries, or I'd just been turned on to something called the pink drink or the berry hibiscus. I like the drinks, but I usually just go get like a double chocolate pound loaf or chocolate chip cookie or something. But I'm there, but on that day, coincidentally, I was getting lunch and I brought Subway in with me, and I guess they didn't see me, but they saw this poor guy, and he had bought, maybe for him and his friend, like 2 overpriced lattes, whatever people buy. It's like, God, at Starbucks, it's like an arm and a leg for their coffee. Well, this customer, and he happened to be like a regular or something, because they knew him by name or something like that, one of the other workers. But the manager comes over and tells him, "Sir, I'm sorry you can't do this." And he looks at her and he's like, "What do you mean can't do this?" And she's like, "I'm sorry, you can't bring outside food into here." And I kind of look over and I'm like, oh, by this time I thought the jig was up. They're going to bust me. I have a freaking spicy Italian sandwich I'm munching on, and I'm trying to hide it behind my laptop. He has like a peanut butter sandwich or something that he brought in a little bag. And he's like, well, he's like, well, it's a problem for me to eat this. And even though he bought coffee, and they're like, yeah, we don't allow outside food in here. It's against store protocol or store policy, whatever. And, the guy was so disheartened, and the way they kind of treated him, it looked like he was a criminal or something, like he had stolen from him. This was a paying customer. He paid for his coffee for himself and his friend, and they thought it was a problem. He couldn't eat his sandwich that he brought in. And I told this to a few other people that have frequented Starbucks much more than I, and at the other locations I've been in. I've never seen this happen. Like, I've never had this been a problem for myself or people around me where someone has been criticized or scolded for bringing food in from an outside place, whether it be maybe something they brought from, I don't know, a deli or from home or whatever, something that they're eating aside from a Starbucks product, one of their sandwiches or whatever. And I thought it was weird. It was weird. I was like, this is bizarre. And And it was not only those two guys, it was another person. And it was a girl who had cold stone. She said, you can't eat your ice cream in here. Like the girl was like dissecting a corpse on the table. Oh, no, 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 please, please. Oh, God, no. God, no. What do you think you're doing there? You want to infect these people here? You want to infect that old lady in the corner there? You have money to pay for her bills? That body gets her sick? But, oh, God, no, that cold stone. Oh, God, we don't want anything to do with that. Please, put that away. Restricted. Anyway, just fascinating story for you guys there, okay? If you like Starbucks, hey, you probably will go there no matter what. I'm certainly not going to stop going there, but I'm going to keep an eye out. I'm going to be like a private eye, watching out for that rogue manager at any given location that might come out of the woodwork and accuse me of toxifying their establishment with my sandwich. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me on this episode of Unhinged. I look forward to seeing you guys here next time. Catch you later. Don't be a stranger now. And as always, what, Kiriakos? As always, nothing, other Kiriakos. And I'm talking to myself. I'll see you here next time on Unhinged.